Hello, can you hear me? Can you see me? Am I live? Am I not live? Am I dead? Are you dead? Are we dead? Is this all a simulation? Nobody knows. Apparently, it's all a simulation because it says I'm live, but I don't have a 5x5. It'll reset momentarily. Hello, can you see me? Am I alive? Am I dead? Are you dead? Is this a simulation? Apparently, it's a simulation. Cool. Oh, thank you, Buckshot. 5x5. Hey, Morgan. Wait, I'm on time. Awesome. Hi, everybody. Hello. Welcome. We're going to do a little bit of Q&A this morning, which, frankly, it's been a hot minute since I've done some Q&A on YouTube. I don't remember the last time I did Q&A on YouTube. I usually do one Thursday evenings on Patreon, but it has been a hot minute since we've done one on YouTube. So there are rules. I'm going to explain the rules really quickly for everybody. They're very basic. The first rule is everybody be cool. You be cool to me. I'll be cool to you. You'll be cool to each other in the chat. Nobody's trying to score points on everybody. Everybody here is your brother and your sister, and so we're going to be nice to one another. We're going to be cool to one another. We don't necessarily have to agree, but we're going to be cool to one another. That's rule one. Violate rule one, somebody with a blue wrench will schwack you. Rule two, put all your questions in all caps. That will increase the likelihood that I will see them. There's already 250 people here, and the comments go by really fast for me. So put your questions, just your questions, not your impassioned statements, just your questions in all caps. That will increase the likelihood that I will see them. If I see the question and I want to answer it, I will answer it. If I see the question and I don't want to answer it, I won't answer it. If I don't see the question, I can't answer it. And if somebody with a blue wrench answers your question in the chat, your question has been answered. Okay. So those are the two rules. Really, really, really simple. I've got about an hour of time that we can spend on Q&A this morning, and so we'll try to keep this to about an hour. If you've ever wondered, is Bear really, really a classically diagnosed workaholic? The answer is yes. I saw an hour of blank time in my schedule this morning, and I was like, I need to do something. And so here we are. What is the best steel for dedicated milling saw, says Palmetto Paratrooper? Probably a 661. If you can't get a 661, at least a professional saw. So I would be looking at a minimum, something like a minimum, a MS400C, although I don't have any time on one of those. I do know from Jeremiah, who's our brother who's done disaster relief with us, he loves the 400. But if not that, the 462, maybe the 500, but the 500 is an awesome saw, it eats fuel because it's fuel injected. And so it has phenomenal performance, but the gas tank's not big enough, the 500. So probably something in the 661 range, which is an investment for sure. More importantly, if you're going to be milling logs with like a chainsaw mill, of which I've got one, and I've done this, I have live edge slabs in my yard over here, air drying. So I've done this a time or two. Get a ripping chain for your chainsaw because you're cutting with the grain. You're ripping with the grain rather than cross cutting across the grain. You can use a standard chainsaw chain. But it's going to be a little bit more complicated and a little less efficient. If it's something you're going to do on the regular, get some ripping chains. The angle of the tooth is more shallow, not as steep on a ripping chain. So I would look for something in the 661 range. If not that, at least a professional grade saw. If it's only 20-inch stuff you're milling, a 362 with a 25-inch bar and a bark box will do it. If it's 25-inch stuff, probably a 462 or a 500. If it's 32-inch stuff, Yeah, 661. And if it's bigger than that, probably a bandsaw mill, honestly. How tall is Bear? Tomer Klein. It depends on which boots I'm wearing. 6 foot, 6 foot one-ish, something like that. You know, if I'm wearing my logger boots with the stripper heels on them, 6'1". If I'm wearing my Merrills, I don't know, 5'11 and a half, somewhere in there. J.A. Dudley and I, we are constantly like either I'm an inch taller than him or he's an inch taller than me, depending on which footwear we are wearing that day. It all depends. Also, have I seen a chiropractor lately? Because if I haven't, then I'm going to be a little bit compressed and shorter. If I have, you'll know because I'll be hobbling around like I am today. I saw one of my favorite people on the face of the earth, my chiropractor, yesterday, and it had been 4 or 5 weeks since I had been due to grindstone deployments and Caleb House stuff and life. And I'm very sore today. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very, very sore today. Let's see. What other questions? Any advice for starting a home fellowship? Michael Brown. Yeah, that's a great question. I would have a dedicated time that we meet. Boundaries are good, right? We meet from, say, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. because at some point, you may want people to just get out of your house. And if you don't want people to just get out of your house, your wife might. So have a beginning and an end. And that also helps people if they're more of the A type for planning purposes, a beginning and an end. If you feel the need to prepare a meal for everyone, especially if it's a smaller group at first, go for it. But what we do is a potluck. Everybody brings a dish to share. Who amongst you shall not rejoice in their small beginnings? I believe is in the book of Jeremiah. If you find one other family to fellowship with, praise Yah. That's wonderful. And then one more family. Praise Yah. That's wonderful. And then one more, and then one more, and then one more. And that's how we started here. We used to do Bible study at this dining room table where I'm sitting. And our kids would be right there sitting on the couch with their Bibles open. And it was great. It was me and then one other family, and then me and then 2 other families, the 3 other families, so forth and so on. And to be clear, me is not the linchpin to this situation. I'm the hero in my own action movie, right? In this life that I'm living. So I'm the main character in my life, just like you're the main character in your life. But so it was me and one other family, 2 other families, 3 other families, and praise the Most High. It has grown to the point now where like we have a significant group of people that we do life with to where I couldn't fit all those people in my house, let alone my living room. The other thing I would say is don't make stumbling blocks out of things that don't need to be. Don't make mountains out of molehills. If, say, you and the other people you're fellowshipping with have a disagreement about dates or calendars or specific types of observance, I think it's way more important to focus on the things that we have in common than to try and find things that we don't have in common and then break fellowship over. In the Christian church, they talk about, is this a matter of salvation? And if it is a matter of salvation, then maybe it's a deal breaker. If it's not a matter of salvation, who cares? It's just my opinion versus your opinion. And opinions evolve. Experiences evolve. Informed opinions based upon experience evolve. And so who you are and what you believe and why you believe it right now is a snapshot in time, likely to change over time, hopefully for the better. So don't look for reasons to not be friends. And this goes to mutual assistance groups, community watch, whatever. Like, look for the reasons you have to be together, not the reasons why you should be apart. When can we get more prepper classroom? Smoke and Swamp Outdoors. It has been on my to-do list, honestly, for about a year and a half to film the 201 series. And it just hasn't happened yet. I am living coordinated chaos right now, and I'm taking the steps to do a better job at coordinating that chaos by putting key people in key positions, but even that takes time. And so I just have not seen fit to prioritize that over the other things that I've been doing, like building a house for my family, like fellowshipping with my people. Like I was ordained a pastor last October, and since then, more and more people that I know and people that I don't know have been coming out of the woodwork asking for counsel. And I have a really hard time saying no to that. Like doing tornado stuff with Grindstone Ministries, like doing rescue and restoration with Caleb House. And so my time in front of the camera used to be very orchestrated, time blocks each week, where I would film. And I have not gotten back to that point yet. So it's on my radar, it's on my to-do list. I just haven't made it there yet. And to be completely honest, I would like to do Prepper Classroom 201, not in front of a whiteboard, but in the field, maybe in a poncho hooch or wherever, doing the things that were discussed in the 101 series. So it's on my radar. I haven't seen a good reason to prioritize it over all the other important things that I'm doing currently. Any plans for Florida training classes? Not currently, Tim, in Tampa, Florida. And now, if you get enough people together to warrant Refuge Medical coming to your town, we'd be happy to come. And you can email admin at Refuge Medical for the details on that, how many people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there is some nuance. Like if you have a place where we can train, that drives the cost down as compared to I have to provide a place for you to come train with us in Tampa, et cetera, et cetera. If you already have enough people to fill half of a class, then awesome. We can do some business wholesale, and then we can open up the remainder of the class to anybody else who's in Florida to come as a public class. So there is some nuance to that. So if you're interested, email admin at Refuge Medical, and we'll see if we can make that happen. Why are people becoming so dumb? Probably the fluoride in the water. I don't know. Has Hami considered, where did it go? So many comments. Doing a video. I lost it. It was something to the effect of, has Hami considered doing a video about prepping baby food? She's considered it. My wife is very, she's not the content creator. She doesn't really love being in front of the camera. I've been thinking about how would you, like what video or video series to put together for prepping for babies in SHTF, since we've had 3 before and we now have our 4th. And the answer really comes back to, and I don't mean this facetiously, but perpetuate normalcy. If you if your baby eats breast milk, okay, then how do I make sure that we continue to have breast milk? If your baby's on formula, how much formula do I have? We know that we're using cloth diapers. Okay, then how do we wash and maintain cloth diapers without the system? Nope, we're using Pampers. Okay, well then how many 0 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 size Pampers do I think I'm going to need, and can I backstock that? You know, and a big part, honestly, of preparing for babies is having a network of people that you love. Because I do, praise the Most High, have a network of people that I love, and we are a prolific people. That first command of be fruitful and multiply, many of us have observed that command on many an occasion. And so somebody's always got baby clothes or a car seat or a blankie or a whatever. Like, it's all this stuff is in constant rotation. Like, don't even need to go to you know, the secondhand store, because we are our own secondhand store. There's so many kids running around that if you have a baby, there's guaranteed somebody to your left or your right that has whatever it is that you need for that baby. Can we put up campers or tents somewhere near training area if we take your classes? Yeah, Michael, there's, I don't want you to camp out at the Refuge Medical store, but there are many campsites near the Refuge Medical store in Spiro, Oklahoma. Also, Fort Smith is not that far. Fort Smith, Arkansas is not that far from Spiro, Oklahoma. And there are multiple hotels there and RV parking grounds and campgrounds and whatever. So You can do everything from fly your private jet into the Fort Smith Airport and then take an armored vehicle from the Fort Smith Airport to refuge, all the way down to drive your pickup with the camper top on the back of it and park it somewhere near Spiro, Oklahoma, and come to class. So there's a lot of options. Solar. Do you run an inverter or separate DC system? Inverter. Hendrix, if I had it all to do over again, there's definite value in having low voltage systems, 12 volt, 24 volt DC systems. I don't have it to do all over again. And all of our pre-existing appliances are all 120 or 240. So AC. And so, yeah, inverter. Is there a loss in efficiency with that? Yes, technically, from a electrical theory standpoint, yes, there's a loss of efficiency, but there could be a loss of efficiency in your life by having 12 volt or 24 volt dedicated appliances as compared to 120, 240 standard appliances. So, yeah, but inverter. And you can run, it depends on the inverter you have, but when we used to do a lot of small wind and small solar, we would come out of either directly out of the generation device, the turbine or the solar panel, but more likely out of a battery bank through a 5 kilowatt inverter that was 120. And so if you need to make 2 legs of 120 to get 240, you'd have 2 inverters. The inverters that we used were semi-programmable so that they would be out of phase with one another. So push, pull, push, pull, push, pull flow of alternating current, right? 60 hertz, 60 times per second. If they're in phase at the same time, you'll blow something up, or at a minimum, start flipping breakers, if not your main breaker. And so there's a consideration there that if you're making 240 with 2 legs of 120, those legs need to be out of phase with one another. If they're not out of phase with one another, you're going to have problems. What is your favorite lamb recipe? Good morning, Jen. Great question. I like to get a sheep and spin it over a fire for 6-ish hours, depends on the sheep. And usually we'll rub it down with whatever. Typically whatever. I have one of those gigantic big steel mixing bowls, and I'll put a pound of brown sugar in there, then a bunch of sea salt, a bunch of black pepper, some garlic, some onion powder, some paprika, some cumin, and then I'll add olive oil to that, mix it all up, and then I'll add red wine to that, half a gallon of red wine, and mix that all up, and then baste that over the lamb as we're turning it over the fire over 6 or so hours. And that is just magnifique. Bear, I have a family road trip planned for November. You are one of the smartest men I know. So you think this would be a good idea, driving from Toronto to Florida? Love you guys. Hey, what's up, Mark O'Connor? Cot Lumber, man. So here's what I would do if I was going to, the core of this question is, are things going to be so crazy in November due to American politics that it is now unsafe for me to road trip with my family? I think that's the crux of the issue here. I don't have a crystal ball. I think that potentially cost-benefit analysis, the answer might be yes. It might be unsafe. Now, let's unpack that. 1, family vacation, family road trip planned for November. We'll let your yes be yes and your no be no, right? Like, you definitely don't want to disappoint the family, don't want to disappoint the kids. You also don't want to expose them to unnecessary danger. I think a lot of the times we are stress inoculated to the dangers that we face already. Driving, most dangerous thing that people do is driving, right? Now, driving through the wrong part of Detroit or Chicago or Houston, very dangerous. Or Memphis. Man, there's some parts of Memphis, I'm like, somebody bring me a belt-fed machine gun. I feel underarmed with this rifle in my truck. So those threats, that landscape of threats already exists right now. And so I think it would be, I'd look at the road trip and then be smart about the route that we're going to take. I'd probably have a significant amount of cash on hand as well if I had to drive home, depending on the vehicle that you're taking. Like I have a 50-gallon backpack tank in my truck, which is still not running. Well, it runs. She just ain't shifting. Why? On Fords, it's motors. On GM products, it's transmissions, and on Dodge, it's everything. And don't start me with them little Japanese trucks. They're too little. They don't. I'm not towing a track hoe with a Tundra. Okay. But anyway, so I have fuel on hand and on my truck, right? Obviously, first aid kit, obviously navigation stuff, maps, as well as GPS, and then cash and fuel, right? And snacks, right? Like I have a bunch of snacks in the truck. I actually have a sleep kit in the truck that if I've got to pull over here and sleep for a few hours, I got a whoopee and a little pillow and a poncho if needed and blah, blah, blah. So I would just look at what you think those risks are going to be. And then now beforehand, logically think about how do I mitigate those risks to the best of my ability. And a little bit of cash on hand and a credit/debit card will handle a lot of those problems in rule of law. Now, are we going to see without rule of law between now and November when it comes to the elections? Maybe. What's the probability? I'd say still less than 10% that it's so bad that it affects your ability to travel across country. Willing to be wrong, hoping to not be wrong. Ben Valley, my 3500 still having trouble. Just got it out of the shop last night. Yeah, man, I've got a brand new transmission and a new transfer case in this truck, and she won't shift. But it takes about an hour before she won't shift of just regular driving, which makes me think that it's overheating, which I don't know, maybe I need a trans cooler. It is Pride Month, so maybe I need a trans cooler. We'll see. Sorry, that's hate speech Canada. Sorry, I'm not sorry. I don't know. I do know this though. Like I bought a new transmission, had it installed by an accredited shop with a warranty. I bought a new transfer case, had it installed by an accredited shop with a warranty. This is not actually my problem. This is the shop's problem. Right now, the problem that I have is getting the truck to the shop. See my earlier comments about availability of time right now. So, TCM going bad? Maybe, but it's brand new. It's brand new. Bigger transmission, cooler, and bigger lines. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Barrett, your TCM, comment on GM trucks. Okay, cool. It's brand new. Why? Now, speaking of brand new, we've also got a 2500 that's got the 6.6 Allison diesel or 6.6 diesel, Duramax diesel in it with the 10-speed Allison. The truck's a beast, but it's way too nice. Like, it's way too nice. Like, it's the screen in it. It's got, first of all, it's got a screen in it. Is the size of this freaking laptop. You know, padded leather seats with heat and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, rear view camera. It's too nice. It is not a work truck. I'm afraid to do work in that truck. What liquors are best for storing for medicinal preps besides vodka? Vodka, Everclear. Define medicinal use. Scotch, bourbon, you know. But yeah, really it's vodka and Everclear. Maybe some tequila if you want your clothes to fall off. You know, if you're trying to maybe observe that first command as discussed earlier. But it's really vodka and Everclear, basically. I prep 2 different types of liquor besides my personal stash. One is handles of vodka. The other is handles of whiskey. Simple as that. Whistlepig. What's up, Tommy Salter? Shalom, brother. Ghost. Shalom, brother. Asking for prayers for my father. He has stage 4 cancer with less than 6 months left. Also, he does not yet know Yah and just won't talk to me about it. Okay. We know why we're here now. Good morning, Father Yah. Father, thank you for the opportunity to humble ourselves before you yet again. Father, our brother Ghost is going through some stuff right now with his earthly father, and I pray that you would be manifested in that situation and that your Ruach HaKodesh, your Holy Spirit, would serve as a wedge to the door of his heart. That, Father, if you could just create an opportunity for his father to receive your word and come to know you before he shuffles off this mortal coil. Father, we ask that your will would be done, but that your will would be intercessory in this situation. That his father would have an opportunity to truly know you before he leaves this earth. And Father, I pray that you'd be with Ghost and be with the family, and that you would pour out your spirit on them, Father, and give them wisdom and discernment. And Father, let them be at peace with all this that is happening, that you are sovereign over all things, and that somehow all things work together for your good. So, Father, please make Ghost strong enough to accept whatever this situation may be as it continues to manifest itself. But, Father, above that, please create an opportunity for his earthly father to get to know his heavenly Father. Father, smile upon them today. I ask these things in Yeshua's name. Amen. I'm not crying, you're crying. I'm just cutting onions in here or something. 7 Mighty Cedars. Bear, when will YouTube Bible start back up? Probably within the next couple of weeks. We are resuming in Hosea. And yeah, back to that time management thing. I'm historically pretty good at time management, and I have to get even better at it right now. The personal demands of being an ordained pastor were something that I had no frame of reference for. Never been here before, never done this before. I'm a noob at this. I'm on month 9 of being an ordained pastor and still not even really knowing what that looks like for me, because the vast majority of interactions I've had with pastors have been what not to do, not what to do. And so I'm still, very frankly, figuring that out. But I do know that I'm not supposed to be unavailable for people that I know in real life. I know that. Like, I think that now there's boundaries there, right? Did you guys know what an ask hole is? An ask hole? An ask hole is somebody who asks for your reproof and instruction, your input about something, and then doesn't listen, and then does the opposite of what you told them to do, and then comes back and asks again and again and again. That's an ask hole. And so you should have boundaries with people in general, and especially those kinds of people. But I can't tell somebody I know in real life, somebody that I do life with, whom I love, hey man, sorry, just not available. And I'm getting to that point right now where I have brothers who are seeking me for counsel. That's like, how's next Tuesday look? Right. And so I didn't know, because I had no frame of reference for it, how involved shepherding a flock is. And as a result, specifically, from Friday evening, Erev Shabbat, through Saturday evening, I'm pretty hooked up. And a lot of times I would record those Bible videos Saturday morning, first thing, Shabbat morning. I'd wake up, pray to the Father, get a cup of coffee, grab the Bible, and then just start going through it. And that availability of time, and I didn't feel at all conflicted about recording a video about the Father's word on Shabbat. You're supposed to do no work on Shabbat, but it's not work, nor should it be work, for me to read his word. And I receive precisely $0.00 from the reading of the Bible on camera. So it's not a confliction there. But that time slot right now is filled with other things, between pastoring real people in life that I know for real and baby stuff and shepherding a flock. I'm like, man, I'll tell you what, honestly, if there is somebody in your life who has poured into you, taken time with you, especially on a spiritual aspect, who has walked alongside of you in love for reproof and instruction to better you, you should tell that person thank you. You really should. You should acknowledge the sacrifice they've made in their personal life to be able to walk alongside of you. And to be clear, I'm not saying you need to say that to me. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for you to take a little mental inventory of the folks who have been good enough, kind enough to you to walk alongside you and pour into you, and acknowledge that. Because leadership is not all it's cracked up to be. And it's way more difficult when you care to be a leader than anybody really realizes. And it's a thankless job. Like, when you're the leader, anytime something is wrong, it's your fault. Anytime something goes right, it's because the team did a good job. Okay. So it's basically getting kicked in the balls 24/7, 365. And so if there's somebody in your life that fills that role for you, you should go out of your way to thank them. Even if it's just a nice text message or whatever, just acknowledge that. But to answer Seven Mighty Cedars, within the next couple of weeks is my goal to get back to reading Hosea. Good morning, Chicken Farmer Plus. Thoughts on jumping back into the dating pool with my new beliefs and how to find a woman with similar beliefs. Any advice is much appreciated. Dakota, man, there's a lot of people, or woman, I don't know your gender. I'm assuming man, but you could be a woman. Oh, you're looking for a woman. We're going to assume you're a man. I apologize. There's a lot of guys that I know that are going through this, trying to find a godly woman. About the best advice I can give you is A, go where godly women are. Like, if you're shopping for a wife that loves the Father at the bar on Friday night, probably a lower chance of success than if you're going to church or assembly or synagogue or whatever, right? It unfortunately comes back to network. Who do you know? 2, 119ministries.com as their fellowship finder. You might look at that. 3, praise Yah, I have a godly wife. It didn't begin that way. And I knew literally the moment I saw my wife, time stopped. And the Father does this for me on occasion because I'm so stubborn. Literally, time stopped. And the Father said, that's your wife. You can stop looking. And 9 days later, I told her that I loved her. And she was like, oh, thank God, I love you too. I said, cool, let's do life together. And we've been basically inseparable ever since. Not that the enemy hasn't tried to sneak in there on several occasions and separate what has become one flesh. But she was a heathen and I was a heathen. And I had to turn from my heathen ways first and then live my beliefs and walk in my testimony for about a year before my wife started to come on board. And it goes back to leadership, headship, leadership, stewardship, right? Like, these are key facets of what a man is made for. And so I'm positive that there are many good women that don't know Yah or don't know him as deeply as they should right now, that are yearning for a man that does, to come alongside of them and lead them in that. Hendrickson Homestead, do you see a benefit to growing marijuana for SHTF? It's an interesting question. I'll be the first one to tell you I'm really bad at weed, like really bad at it. And before all the weed nerds jump in here, you had the wrong strain. You should try this. You should try that. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm terrible at weed. I get super paranoid. My throat dries up, feels like my throat's closing, and I'm like all the paranoid. Like that's it. The FBI, the CIA, and the aliens are all surrounding us at the same time, and we need to figure out sectors of fire and who's going to take out who. I'm very bad at weed. Just because it don't work for me doesn't mean it doesn't work for other people. Just like the alcohol question, we're supposed to be sober-minded. It's not that you can't drink, Baptists. It's that you can't be drunk. Right? I think it's, what is it, Numbers chapter 10? Nadab and Abihu bring the wrong incense to the tabernacle, and the Father smokes them that fast because they were drunk in service to the Father. And then we're commanded, be sober-minded. Cool. Same thing applies with marijuana, with weed as far as I'm concerned. Does it have medicinal uses? 100%, especially based upon my limited research on the CBD side. But just because it's medicinal doesn't mean that it can't be abused. And so I think there's lots of good reasons why somebody could or should do that in SHTF, which, by the way, define SHTF. Are we there now? Probably. It's 1% as bad as it could get or is going to get. But you have to be careful with that. Just like if you had a still for making corn liquor, if your entire day revolved around making corn liquor, drinking corn liquor, passing out, and then making more corn liquor again, you'd have a problem. If your entire day revolves around when you get off work, I'm going to go smoke a blunt or drink a 12-pack of beer or pound this bottle of whiskey, you have a problem, right? And so much like drinking is okay, drunkenness is not. But for certain people, they can't have one drink. One drink means 15 drinks, which means I'm now spiraled off into the deep end, full-blown alcoholism again. Some people have addictive personalities. I'm one of them. I'm a light switch, off or on, from 6 cigars a day to zero, right? I used to drink a handle of Jim Beam and 6 to 12 Budweisers every day. And then for years and years, I didn't drink at all because I couldn't trust myself with it to have a beer or a whiskey. Now, there's 3 bottles of whiskey right up there on that shelf. A bottle of Johnny Walker Blue. Thank you to the gentleman who gave me that. A bottle of New Riff. Thank you to the gentleman who gave me that. And a bottle of Crown. They're all in various states of being full. I think the last time I had a glass of whiskey was 6 days ago. So now I've got it under control. Some people don't got it under control. And we don't want to be a stumbling block to our brothers and sisters. That's like what Paul's talking about in 1 Corinthians 8 and 10. He's like, I know that food sacrificed to idols doesn't matter because the idols are all make-believe because my God is God. If a younger brother in the faith doesn't know that and he sees me doing this and that becomes a stumbling block in his faith, it would be better for me to abstain and not do this at all than to cause my little brother to stumble. Because some people don't got it yet. They don't have it all figured out. And so with all things, right, is there an application for growing marijuana in SHTF? Probably. Does that have the ability to be abused? 100%. Just like alcohol does, just like prescription medications do, frankly, just like your firearms do, right? There's potentiality for all these things to go from being good to being bad. And so that's what I would want to make sure that we had hedges around if you're going to be a weed farmer when the world ends, okay. They're the founding fathers. I know hemp. I get it, dude. I get it. But having hedges around things that can be dangerous to other people because I am my brother's keeper. I don't want to cause my brother to stumble. That's Hendrickson Homestead. I hope that makes sense. That's what I got on that. How do you find that control, Bear? Stand for truth. That's a really good question. And of all the things on here, I don't know why I just landed on that. Probably the Ruach. For me, number one, the spirit. Like last cigar I smoked was before Shavuot of last year. Shavuot, Pentecost, the Feast of Weeks, the day you bring an offering made by fire to Yah. And the spirit said, hey, you made an idol out of these things, give them up. Okay. Yes, sir. I threw a box of Drew Estate Tobacco specials, which I loved. Well, I think I still love them. I just haven't loved one recently. A brand new case into the fire because I had made an idol out of these. And that was the spirit that did that for me. But with like cocaine back in the day and alcohol back in the day, I still think there was an element of the spirit there, but I didn't even know what the spirit was. And so one of the things that you have to fundamentally understand about me, good, bad, or indifferent, I am stubborn as hell. You could call that tenacious. You could call that strong work ethic. You could call that committed. No, I'm stubborn. I know me. I'm stubborn. And when I get something in my head, that's it. We are going this way. We are going to do this. It will be this way. Period. The end. And every fiber of my being, sheer force of will, gets in line with that thing that it will be this way. And so I remember it was a Tuesday morning. I woke up and I swung out of bed, set my feet on the ground. Back when I was a young man and I could just swing out of bed like that. And my first conscious thought at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday morning was, I'm out of Coke. I got to get more Coke. And my next conscious thought was, it's Tuesday morning. You don't have to get more Coke. What the is wrong with you? And so there's this internal dialogue going on. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm done. Now, along with that stubbornness, your environment is way stronger than your willpower. I'm still that stubborn. I haven't done cocaine since then. If somebody was to walk in here and set a pile of Coke on my dining room table, I have to get up and walk away because it's just a matter of time. Minutes, hours, days, weeks. It's just a matter of time before that starts sounding like a really good idea again. So environment over willpower, being stubborn, and the spirit. Oh, the Bobby Guerrero. Getting a little warm?
Yeah. That living room window was a beast.
It was a beast. It wasn't as easy as you thought it was going to be.
Well, I mean, broken glass.
Let me see the Bobby Gorilla real quick. The Warden, thanks for $5. I appreciate you. Oh, hello, Bobby Guerrero.
She was getting hot.
She's ready for the napping? She's ready for the napping?
Oh, I left my water.
Oh, left the water over there.
But yeah, I was trying not to get sliced up by broken glass. So
yeah, don't do that.
It took a little bit more effort.
Yankee Watchdog. I don't miss the marching powder. Bro, I say that right now, 100% sober. Yeah, I don't miss it either. But anybody who has an addictive personality can tell you it's just a matter of time. If I sit here and look at it long enough, I'm going to misremember all the bad things and start remembering the perceived good things, and it's going to be a problem again because I'm a light switch. And if you know that this switch might get flipped, walk away from the light switch. Baby Bear is getting so big. Shalom, Sister Dana. Father forbid. I love you, brother. Little Joe, bless you. I love you back. Same eyes. Yeah, and you should see her resting bitch face. It's tremendous.
She might get that from her mama.
She might, yeah, she might get that from her mom. All right, I've got about 15 more minutes. Oh, what's up, John? First lab I've been able to make.
Did you talk
Glad
about
to be here.
Caleb House donor matching?
Oh, no, I haven't. I should do that.
You should.
Okay, I've just been doing Q&A. I haven't promoted anything. So Caleb House donor matching, now through the 10th of July, we have one donor who has committed to match all donations that come in through now through July 10th up to $250,000. So that means we have the opportunity for Caleb House to raise $500,000. That's amazing. Praise Yah. Because we just did our budget. Well, it's a budget in draft. We're on draft 4. We're still working through it for the next 12 months. And per that budget in draft, we're $400K in the hole. So the ability to raise $500,000 in between now and the 10th of July is huge. Praise Yah. So every donation at calebhouse.org, whether it's $1 or $100 or $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000, all of it will be tallied and matched up to $250K between now and July 10th. And so if the Spirit convicts you to give, give. If it doesn't, that's okay too. But a huge help during that period of time will be follow Caleb House and Grindstone on Instagram and Facebook, and share their posts. Share the graphics for the donor matching that's going on right now. Let as many people know as possible, whether that's your job or your church or your home assembly or whatever it might be, because it's a really big deal, and it would basically, based upon projected costs, square our books for the next 12 months. Are you smiling? What are you smiling at? You smiling at donor matching? Ray McDaniel, probably. We probably should do that. That's a good idea. Are you going to have another live stream donation drive or whatever that was? I think we are. Dad. Oh. I've been super addicted personality, beating the 3 big ones: alcohol, meth, and painkillers. I ran low on meds in Barnesville and nearly stopped taking them since. Bless you, Medic Mouse. Praise Yah. How does one determine if they have an addictive personality? Isn't that everyone to a certain degree? That's a good question, David. I do think that everyone has, to a certain degree, yes. Everybody does have an addictive personality. The ones that definitely have an addictive personality, I don't think wonder whether or not they do.
Right.
You just know. Like, I just know. I know it's a matter of time. Right? Environment over willpower. It's a matter of time. If you put a pile of bourbon and Budweiser and cocaine on this table, I have to walk away, because I know it's a matter of time before that seems like a really good idea. And I don't have to wonder about it. I do think it's a spectrum, and everybody is somewhere on the spectrum. But the ones that have the needle pegged all the way to the right of addictive personality, you don't have to wonder. And there's a lot of replacement theology. Like, why do so many alcoholics in AA smoke cigarettes? Because they went from the alcohol to the nicotine. Now, super interesting. I saw a doctor speaking on this, talking about upcoming or in the pipeline ADHD treatments derived from nicotine. And what he was saying, is that nicotine is a super effective treatment for ADHD. Unfortunately, most people get their nicotine along with a known carcinogen, which is tobacco. But he said in many cases, people who have ADHD are self-medicating and have been self-medicating most of their life with nicotine. And it's also understood that nicotine has nootropic properties to it as well. Like it wakes your brain up. So that's really interesting. Why do alcoholics who have an addictive personality, which in many cases is a diminishment of inhibition, then self-medicate with nicotine? Well, A, it's replacement theology. They used to drink, now they smoke. B, they're self-medicating without even knowing that they're self-medicating. What are some key things to teach teenagers in preparation for being an adult? Richard Talent, that's a great question. One, work hard. Like when you're at work, do work. Two, how to steward your money. Is that what you were going to say, babe?
Mm-hmm.
Say your piece. They can hear you.
Money's big. Like, as soon as they can, get them a checking account.
Mm-hmm.
Make them responsible for paying something.
Yep.
Like, it can be the phone bill or their gas or like
insurance,
car payment. Like, make them have some sort of reoccurring debt that they have to pay, so that they understand money coming in, money coming out, budgeting. I've got to spend $60 next week on gas, but my paycheck was only $100, so I got $40 to play with. Like, super, super important.
Yep.
Because they don't get that.
I would add to money how to tithe and how to save as well. That's really, I think most adults don't understand that. So if you can start your kids on that early, how to earn, how to tithe, how to save, I think that's really good. I would also begin them to understand that their actions affect more than just themselves, right? And that's, to a greater or lesser degree, that's true about everybody. And they're not the center of their own little world. Just like I'm not the center of my own little world. The things that I do every day are basically predicated upon agreements, either vertical agreements I've made with the Father or horizontal agreements I've made with other people, including y'all. I will show up and talk about these things. I will show up if there's a tornado. I will show up if there's bad guys hurting kids. I will show up in my house and hold the baby and help cook dinner and help build a new house. Like, your actions affect more than just you. And to the extent that you can be aware of that and operate in that, I think it increases your soft power as a human being, your ability to network and get things done. And it's also super cliche, but show me your friends, I'll show you your future, right? You are the amalgamation of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So pick who you spend time with wisely. Are these the people you spend time with helping you get better? And if the answer is not yes, if they're not helping you be a better version of you, however you define a better version of you, then why are you spending time with them? And then one other thing that I've told my teenagers right now is our society has ingrained in us that at insert age here, 18 years old or whatever, you should leave my house and go make your way out there in the world. And what I've told my bigs, what I call my bigs, my teenagers, is I think that's stupid. Hold on. Sup? Come in. That's Ricky. All right. I said, hey, I think that's stupid because you're not prepared to go out into the world. And I don't want to set you up for failure. So if you want to stay here under my covering until you have an actual game plan put together where it makes sense for you. Hey, babe, close that door, please. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought while you're talking to him. If you want to stay here under my covering while you figure out an actual game plan, let's do that instead, so that you're not being thrown out into the world with the odds stacked against you, which puts you in a situation of desperation, which forces you to compromise your morals and your ethics and make bad decisions. I would much rather you don't make bad decisions in the first place than us have to deal with the ramifications of your bad decisions because you got in a desperate situation.
You may take her.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
You good?
Mhm.
Okay. Here's this as well. How can you tithe without being a part of a church? What places could I support to fulfill that command? Alan Price, that's a good question. Biblically, the tithe was agricultural, and it was brought to the temple as an offering of thanksgiving, but also it was held back every third year. You were to have a party for all your friends and everybody who wanted to come so that you could explain at the party how awesome the Father is that he blessed you with all this largesse, this abundance. Thanks, Ewok Jerky. So what do you do now, right? Because most of us aren't agricultural, and where's the temple? Who are the Levites? So actually, tactically, Torah and I were talking about this the other day, and he said, and it's a good way to say it, see a need, meet a need. And that's basically how I have done things for a hot minute. I take a percentage of my income and I set that aside, 10%, and that goes to support certain ministries that I know are doing things, one of which is incredibly active in Southeast Asia, rescuing kids and making sure that bad things happen to bad people. And then a portion of that is held back for when somebody needs something, whether it's a random person I see at the gas pump and the Spirit says, buy their gas, or it's somebody I see in line at the grocery store and the Spirit says, buy their groceries, or a brother, their truck breaks down and they don't have the money for the repairs or whatever. So see a need, fill a need. That's how I do it. And I'm not saying that's how you should do it, but that's how I have observed that command. And the idea of the tithe is the remembrance, just like the Feast of First Fruits and just like the Feast of Shavuot. You're giving a portion back to the Father as an acknowledgement that all that you have belongs to Him. It's all His anyway. So if you can find a way to assist the body of Christ, that's in service to the Father, however that might look, because you're just giving back to Dad what belongs to Dad anyway. Ewok Jerky, instant coffee, heavy stockpile for those moving to night shift watch planting and harvest times. Yeah. John Burdine, bless you. Thank you. Kim Gordon, Yah is blessing you, Bear. Amen. I have what I have, and I don't mean materially. I mean, the provision, protection, blessing that I have is not because I'm cool. I'm super aware of that. It's not because of me. It's because for some reason, inexplicably, the Father loves me. And He has plenty of reasons to not. I have given Him thousands of reasons to cut me off, to excommunicate me from the family. And even still, He never forsook me. He never gave me a certificate of divorce. He never put me away. If anything, He stewarded me through those terrible times so that on a long enough timeline, I could come back around again and meet Him and come back into the family. And that's amazing. That's the miracle. That's the good news. That's the gospel. That there's a way for you to come home again despite all the terrible shit that you've done. That you are not defined by those things. And the price that you should be paying for all of those things, that burden will be lifted from you so that you don't die. The wages of sin is death. And now that we've removed the sword of Damocles that's hanging over your head, by which you should rightly suffer and die, you reap what you sow. That price has been paid for. You've been redeemed, bought with a price by a brother, so that you can enter into the house under the covering of the master. That's inexplicable. That is the miracle. And we focus a lot on the miracle of Messiah dying and then rising again. I don't think we focus enough on the miracle of us dying and then rising again. And yes, there will be a time for a physical resurrection. But everybody who has been covered with the blood of the Lamb, everybody who believes, you've already died. The old man is dead. Put off the old man. You've already died and been made new by the blood of Christ. That's awe-inspiring. That's incredible. There's nothing else that's really worth talking about when you sit and ponder that for a hot minute. It's like, I should be all the way dead. All the way dead. And then even if I wasn't physically all the way dead right now, I should be eternally dead based upon all the terrible things that I've done. I mean, terrible things. I wasn't a minor offender, major bad guy. I was a major bad guy to the kingdom of heaven. And the Father saw fit to redeem me yet. That's the miracle, y'all. That's the beautiful thing. What else matters? Is there anything else that matters more than that? No, there's not. The rest is just nuance and detail while we shuffle around this mortal coil, trying to live our life in such a way that it brings praise to the Most High, and that we walk in the model that Messiah gave us. It's a good Q&A. That's the time that I've got today for Q&A. I appreciate y'all very much. Per usual, there's links in the description to all the things that don't matter. There's Grindstone matters. Well, they all matter, I guess. I guess they all matter. If you need a Bible, grindstoneministries.com. Buy one at our cost, or I'll send you one for free. The Caleb House donor matching, big deal now through July 10th. Please help us with that. Refuge Medical mission statement: to save lives while in service to the Father's kingdom and experience the abundance of his provision and blessing. I don't want you to die. Spiritually, I don't want you to die. Physically, I don't want you to die either. I'm more concerned about the spiritual. But we got to keep you alive long enough that you get to meet the Father face to face so that you don't die forever. And I think a lot of people are not privy to, it's not discussed, that Refuge has been the cash cow, for lack of a better word, for a lot of the stuff that we've done with Caleb House and with Grindstone. That revenue has allowed us to do a lot of the things that we do. So your support across all that is greatly appreciated. Thank you guys and girls for being a part of what we did here today. I think we'll try and do this again sometime. When? I don't know, but be on the lookout for it. I hope you all have a blessed day. Share the show with somebody you love. Shalom.